Byron Jones, he made angry runs on the bad side of it, but he made toe drag on the good side.
Schrager's emptying the notebook?
I'm going to empty the notebook on who are all these Chiefs front office executives getting all these GM jobs? Who are they and what do they do?
Nate will be furiously taking notes as always during those segments. Will Selva's out in the newsroom. Hey, Will, it's sort of weird that we're all getting along and all pick Jonathan Taylor. We're all in agreement, which never happens.
I was pulling for him. He had to do it at this point in time. He had to. The whole Susan Lucci thing would have been hanging over his head. When was he going to be able to do it? So I am glad that he did it. All is right with the world, and it is spinning on its axis. So congratulations to Jonathan Taylor. Now, congratulations is also in order for another player, Mike Evans of the Bucs. That's because he made NFL history. In case you hadn't heard, he became the first receiver in NFL history to have 1,000 yards receiving in each of his first 7 seasons. But now the attention, the focus is on his availability for Tampa Bay's first playoff game in 13 years. Now, friend of the show, Bucs head coach Bruce Arians saying an MRI on Evans' hyperextended knee suffered in that game showed no structural damage and very little swelling. So that is great news for the Bucs. Arians adding that Evans is considered day-to-day and that if Evans is even at 80%, they'd have to fight to keep him off the field. As for Rams quarterback Jared Goff, he's fighting to stay on the field. However, the news not as encouraging. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport is reporting it's expected to be challenging for Goff to play as he recovers from a dislocated thumb. The cool temperatures in Seattle, obviously not conducive to playing through pain. If he can't go, the Wolf of Ball Street, as we've dubbed him. John Wolford would once again get the start. More QB news as Sam Darnold's future with the Jets is much like the Seattle weather, cloudy. With the Jets holding the 2nd overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, there's speculation they could use that pick on a quarterback to replace Darnold and trade him. But Darnold says if it's up to him, he'd prefer to stay with Gang Green.
I want to be a Jet for life. I love the people here. I love living here. And I want to turn this thing around. I believe that we can. There's going to be a lot of work involved in that. And we all know it's a process. But I definitely want to stay here, hopefully for the rest of my career.
Obviously, things getting complicated for the Jets and Sam Darnold because who knows if a new head coach comes in, he wants his guy. But who couldn't resist having a guy under center who's got a scepter, who won angry runs, who was set to go to the American Museum of Natural History? Who wouldn't want that guy as the quarterback of the team?
You'd want it. Listen, there's only 3 quarterbacks who have ever won the scepter. It's Sam Darnold and it's 2 guys who played this weekend, Josh Allen and Ryan Tannehill. It is rare air. Welcome to the club. Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate you guys. Let's keep the angry runner talk going here. Derrick Henry became just the 8th member to join the 2,000-yard club in Week 17. He's the 2nd Titans running back to join that club. I mean, Triggs, you were all over this a long time ago talking about, does this squad have the best running backs of all time? Well, Chris Johnson did it back in 2009, as we know, rushing for 14 touchdowns that season. He also won Offensive Player of the Year. Chris Johnson, get this, guys. He paid King Henry a visit after the historic performance on Sunday. Oh, boy. 2 Titan greats in one photo, guys. Derrick Henry and Chris Johnson are the only 2 players in the 2K club to have played for the same franchise. So how special was it to see these 2 together after the game?
What a time to be alive. On the field, we have a Taki and we have a 2K. So,
Nice. Never would have thought about it.
I can appreciate the fact that these 2 legends did it, and they did it in such different ways. Chris Johnson was a speedster. He wasn't necessarily an angry run guy. Then you had Derrick Henry, who in a day and age, let me just say this. I'm not saying it's easy to play quarterback, but the game has evolved to where it's easier to put up crazy numbers, right? You still have to be surgical with the ball. But Derrick Henry, there's nothing about how the game has evolved that has changed the way people hit him. He gets hit like he's playing in the 80s and 90s. So for him to put up 2K right now, it's impressive.
The only thing missing was Earl Campbell and Eddie George in that photo. The Tennessee Titans / Houston Oilers franchise. I said it then, I'll say it again. Mount Rush, more, and more. Those guys are amazing, and I love that Chris Johnson was there to celebrate it. Chris, Derrick, let's see if you guys can find a Lombardi trophy in Nashville this year.
Well, that's it, Peter. And listen, I think the most impressive thing about Derrick doing is he had 34 carries in Week 17. Like, he's supposed to be running out of gas. But here's the thing, nothing is promised. Chris Johnson had 2,000 yards. That was an 8-8 Jeff Fisher team that did not make the playoffs. Jamal Lewis, when he did it, lost in the wild card round, had about 35 yards rushing. Adrian Peterson, when he did it, the Joe Webb game, lost in the first round of the playoffs. It's an incredible accomplishment, but now it's done, and I want to see Derrick Henry take a picture with the Lombardi Trophy. That's what he's going for now. It's nothing is promised for these 2,000-yard guys.
It's very rare for a player to lead the league in rushing and the team win the Super Bowl. I would actually.
TD.
Terrell Davis might be the only player to have done it in NFL history. I could be wrong there. It's just so rare to do that. And let's see if Derrick Henry can change that.
So when does he start entering in that discussion as far as like the pantheon of all-time greats? 2,000 yards, right? He's doing his thing, leading the league in both yards. And is it blasphemous right now? Or when can we start putting him in that like Barry Payton?
It's tough with running backs because those guys played so long and their numbers are so big.
So never?
No. I mean, he's still got a ways to go, though. He does. Like, you got to get up into that crazy yard total.
I don't know.
Is he entering that territory?
I'll say a couple of more years.
I would say he might be in the conversation. He is, no doubt, the best running back in football, not just this year, but last year too.
Yep.
So you string a couple of those seasons together, you are no doubt, undeniably the best at your position when you played at the game.
See, now you're talking, Peter, because everyone wants to just escort Frank Gore right into the Hall of Fame. That's never been said about him.
No.
He's had an incredible career, but he's never had the highs that Derrick Henry has had.
I don't think Frank Gore was ever a first-team All-Pro. Derrick Henry might string together a bunch
this wasn't supposed to be anti-Frank Gore Hall of Fame talk.
Somebody has to say it.
It's a good talk.
Listen, he has to do it. He has to sustain this over a few more years, a couple at the very minimum. I mean, remember when DeMarco Murray had an amazing...
He had one great year.
Yeah, amazing year.
This is back-to-back
we were waiting.
season.
We're like, okay, he does this a few more times. This guy's... Didn't happen. So we'll see if Derrick Henry can continue to do this. I say 2 years in a row in a game where there's a lot of good running backs.
Yeah.
He's put his foot down as the best in the game, but we'll see if he can do it for a couple more seasons.
At GNP with your thoughts, I'm sure there's plenty of those out there this morning. Thanks for choosing us. Thanks for choosing Tom Pelissero and everybody you're seeing right here because the NFL world keeps rolling as we bring you the latest from around the league. It's NFL Now. It is today at 1 on NFL Network. More JMFB up ahead. It looked like the Texans and the Titans were going to overtime. Then this went down. We are talking the best from Week 17 next. Week 17 and the entire regular season is over and done with. Lots of educational things were learned and consumed by the four of us. So it's time for What We Learned season finale, Nate.
All right. So for what I learned that Aaron Rodgers is the best deep pass quarterback of all time.
All time.
What do I mean by that? Well, Aaron Rodgers has a record. He has a record of the most 70-yard plus touchdown passes in NFL history.
You said 70?
70 plus. 70. I didn't say 7. I didn't say 17 or 27.
70.
70 plus with 20. I heard this stat on Sunday, and immediately, as I'm working, I'm pulling double duty. I said, this is going to be what I learned. I sit there right into the email chain.
You like checking that box, baby.
I wanted to show some...
Nate sets his entire week on Sunday.
I want Donald Driver highlights. Go.
And that's what I wanted to do. I sent in, I said, I want the old school highlights. I wanted to start with the grainy footage early on in his career. And then we got Jordy Nelson, of course. He was an absolute beast. And then I wanted to move it along to show you, one, how long Aaron Rodgers has been doing it. And we always seen Jordy Nelson running that cover 2 hole shot and scoring a touchdown. Jordy Nelson was fantastic. And another thing, how many touchdowns did Devontae Adams have? 18
million.
You remember Jordy Nelson also led the league in touchdowns. Do you see a common theme here? Playing with the greatest quarterback, some would say, to play the game. But I wanted you to see Aaron Rodgers doing this from the beginning of his career up until now. Now, mind you,
are there any that aren't against the Bears, Nate? This is unbelievable.
Randall
literally
Cobb
Jordy
right
and Cobb just running all over the Bears.
And another thing is that my guy Aaron Rodgers has had some injuries. All right, he's had some turnover in wide receivers. He hasn't always had Devontae Adams out there playing like the best receiver in all of football. He's done it with multiple individuals. So I wanted to show you guys and tell you guys this because there's an argument, right? There's the Tom Brady's the GOAT, greatest quarterback of all time, also the greatest system guy of all time. Drew Brees is the stat compiler. You have to respect him for what he is and who he was. And then you have Peyton Manning. Yo, come on, Peyton Manning's the sheriff, right? You got to show him love. He's one of the greatest. Where does Aaron Rodgers fit in this? I know at this table, and I know specifically even you, Kyle, you have said Aaron Rodgers is the most gifted quarterback. I feel like maybe gifted isn't enough. He should be in the conversation of great. Forget about him not having as many rings as Roethlisberger or Tom Brady. Just look at this list right here. Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, and Matt Ryan. How about the Manning brothers right there back to back? But 20. And the crazy part is, the scariest part is, he's going to extend this because he is not slowing down anytime soon. So Aaron Rodgers, I want to use a little time on the show to salute you, man. You are one of the greatest to ever play the game. And when we're talking about the best to ever do it, you should be in the conversation.
Nice.
Did Nate just disrespect John Wolford?
I was going to say, does he have any
Where's
idea
he
how good Wolford is and the touch he has on those deep passes? We'll get to our John Wolford hype program in a bit. But first, let's go to the Sam Sloman hype
All right, perfect.
Of course.
The AFC South could have been decided by Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Deshaun Watson, Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor, even Mike Glennon. Instead, it was decided by Sam Sloman. Let's see the kick that sent the Titans to their first division title in more than a decade. Sam Sloman comes off the bench, lines it up, and Sam Sloman is going to kick this thing here, and wait, timeout. Iced him. Sloman.
Oof.
Romeo ices him. All right, Sloman.
Peter,
we need this.
He pushes it a little left. And then
now he overcorrected.
Bounces in. Now watch the reactions here from everyone on the sideline after Sloman, who we'll get into in 1 second here, doinks it off the upright and then through the uprights for a game-winning field goal that would clinch the division. Look at Ross Blakecock on the other side. Be like, someone said, oh, I missed it. I made it. So excited. And then you get the reactions of all the other players. The Sloman story's cool. He was in camp with the Rams with about 5 other kickers, wins the job. He's out of Miami of Ohio. He's from Roswell, Georgia. McVay went to Miami of Ohio. He was from Atlanta, Georgia. It's like, oh, that's a cute story. Sloman was not very good for the Rams. They released him. He gets moved on. He goes. He does his journeys. Ends up on the Titans practice squad in week 17. Stephen Gostkowski gets a COVID-19 situation. They activate him. He hadn't met many of his teammates.
That's so crazy.
And just kicks the field goal in. What I loved in the story I got from the Rams on Sunday was they were celebrating their win, their berth into the playoffs, beating the Cardinals. Then they clicked on the TV and they watched their old teammate, Sam Sloman, kick one through and send the Titans to their first division title in more than a decade. Congratulations, Sam Sloman. He might never kick for the Titans again. Gostkowski might be fine. He might be the kicker in the playoffs, and there we go. But Sam Sloman will be a Titans legend forever.
You know, after he made it, the teammates mobbed him. It was like extended hugging and everything for the guys that didn't even know, because they know they might need him this week, and they might need another Sammy Sloman.
Anti-Cody Parkey.
Major anti-Cody Parkey. By the way, Cody Parkey also in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Fair.
I don't love doing this, but I've done it almost every year, and it almost feels like something I have to do. At the end of the movie The Unforgiven, won Best Picture, Gene Hackman's lying on the ground, and he's lost to Clint Eastwood, and Clint Eastwood's standing over him, and Gene Hackman goes, I don't deserve this. And Eastwood goes, deserve's got nothing to do with it. It's very dramatic. There's a lot of fan bases right now and a lot of teams that think they deserve something, like they deserve to be in the playoffs or they deserve a better hand. I'm going to explain to you right now why you don't deserve it. And let's just start right now. The Las Vegas Raiders, you won Week 17, really entertaining season. Do you remember Week 12 what happened? Do you remember you had all this momentum and then you went to Atlanta? Oh, and you lost 43-6 to a 4-12 Atlanta team. You do not deserve anything. You are out. Moving on. The Miami Dolphins. Wait, we won double-digit games. 10 wins, Kyle. Good Lord, that Week 17 thing is going to be talked about for years. I'm seeing Josh Norman run into the end zone. Miami, great season, great team. You don't deserve squat. It's especially rich in the NFC this year because teams are saying, a sub-500 team got in. They got it. Why can't we get in? Let's just talk for a second about the Minnesota Vikings, who also won Week 17. Minnesota, you started 1-5. You lost Week 6 to the 0-5 Falcons team after they had fired their head coach and were down 20-0 at the half. You don't deserve anything. Moving to the desert, Cardinals fans.
Oh, no way.
You lost 4 straight division games. That's not easy to do. You are now 0-4 under Kingsbury against the Rams. 4 straight. You had a sweep, a clean flush. You don't deserve anything. And last, but certainly not least, my friends, the New York Giants.
I was waiting
who
for it.
cannot wait to tweet and say what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. Week 7, you're up 21-10 against the Eagles with 5 minutes left with Carson Wentz, who didn't exactly have a bang-up year, and you blew it. Win that game, you're in. Save your tweets, save your disgust, save your pearl clutching. You don't deserve anything either. Try to win more games next year. 7 would have done it. That's what I learned this week, as I learn it every year around this time. Deserve has got nothing to do with it.
Did that feel great? How did that feel?
Feel really good. Feel great. Yeah.
Good.
Better than Angry Runs. Never skip it.
Yeah, no, it like does. It's because you're wearing the T-shirt. It adds a little something extra.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, it's like the
Just like you on Madden.
stationery and Legally Blonde. Okay, so I learned, to your point, I love that you were talking about Aaron Rodgers. We're on the same wavelength about where he is in his career and where it can go. Right. I learned after 17 weeks of football that the "he's too old" crowd is taking an L. It's simply true. There are only a few starting quarterbacks. I've talked about this on the show where I'm not ready to let go of these guys. It's my first wave from when I really started loving football, like post Brett Favre years. And literally every single one, take a look, every single one has led his team to the playoffs in 2020. I love this list. I love the ages. I love that they all made it, especially this year. I cannot remember a year with more "he's too old" talk. His skills